Wall Street Mastermind. I'm back today with another client interview for you guys. Today I'm excited to be on here with Advik and excited to have him on. He actually finished recruiting. Yeah, it's been a few months, but we haven't been able to get on until now. So I'm glad that we're finally getting to do able to do it. Avik is an international student, goes to a non-target school, and so he had to overcome a lot of hurdles. And I would say like his his path to an investment banking offer was probably, I mean, it's always difficult no matter what, no matter who you are. But I would say his was like the degree of difficulty was particularly high. And so wanted to get him on here to talk to you guys and just share, his journey and his any insights he might have on how he was able to successfully navigate through the process despite all the challenges. And so, Avik, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today, man.
All right. Hey, Sam, first off, and thank you so much for having me here. Uh, just by starting to introduce myself, going off on what like you talked about my path being difficult. My path was so difficult, first off, because I was too late. I'm not gonna lie there. You might remember this. I basically started recruiting already like an year late because I should have been graduating May of 22, but when I joined in the program, you said that we should delay the graduation by one semester so that we have another chance for an internship round.
Yeah.
So uh, even after that, I was late and I started recruiting in the month of September, which was way too late. And I know that. And I do not recommend doing that at all. Uh, so there's that. Coming back to my introduction, my name is Advik Agarwal. As you mentioned, that I'm an international student. I'm studying finance and actuarial science from Michigan State University, complete non-target school, especially for New York City. And I have been interested in investment banking from a long time now. It was since sophomore year of my high school since I was interested in investment banking. At the time, I had no idea what investment banking was. It was just one of those things that I saw seen in Wall Street and all these movies, which grew my interest towards investment banking. And then the major thing to connect me to investment banking was Suits. I don't know if you've watched that TV show or not,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Suits really impressed me when I saw Mike Ross became an investment banker. I wanted to be something like him. It was junior year high school. I remember that very well.
yeah.
So uh, came here freshman year, met a couple of investment banking interns because there were only like 7 or 8 who had gone to IB from Michigan State University, and even those 7 8 students, out of those 7 8, 5 of them were going into the Midwest offices, either locally in Michigan or in Chicago.
Yeah.
That is not something I wanted to do. Number one, because I had always dreamt of living in New York City. Number two, these banks do not even sponsor. So that was a huge thing because if they do not sponsor, they're not going to hire you as interns. That is something that I came to know my sophomore year. So I was already late in that. I think as an international, it takes you to a different level of cultural shock when you come to United States, and then there are some different things that you need to come over if you're not coming from an international school back in home. So I did a national board there, like a national school study there, not the international board study.
Yeah.
So there's a huge difference in everything. So it usually takes time for you to get over all those things and then get started uh, your career goals and your aspirations.
Yeah.
So took me that, and then uh, that's about it. Right now, I have an offer from Nomura Green Tech. I'll be going into the New York office the upcoming summer, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So a lot to unpack there. So obviously, a couple of things you mentioned. So you go to a non-target school, Michigan State.
Hmm.
I think I interviewed another Michigan State client. He was telling me, like, you guys don't have very many people that get into banking each year, right? It's like single digits, I want to say, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it's usual. Like if you ask me, in good banks, it's either single digits or zero. And by good banks, I mean big banks, not good banks. I shouldn't say that. I mean big banks. People here usually go to Donnelly Penman and Calder Capital, which are all these local boutique banks who do deals between what 5 million to 50 million or 100 million.
Yeah.
So these are the banks who do not hire international students, first off. And then these are the banks who also prefer local students more.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that obviously is a big hurdle, right? Because you kind of you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're
Mhm.
on target school who mostly places people into regional boutique banks, but you're an international student and regional boutiques don't sponsor. And so
Mhm.
you draw that Venn diagram, there's almost like no overlap,
Right,
essentially.
absolutely, absolutely.
Um, and then the other issue too is you should have been graduating May 2022, but I know that by the time you joined Wall Street Mastermind, it was December of 2020, which was
Mhm.
basically halfway through your junior year, right?
Right, 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 right.
Essentially, if you're still recruiting halfway through your junior year, all the big banks that do sponsor, and I would say big banks as in like either elite boutique, bulge bracket, or middle market banks. I would say like the top 10
Mhm. Mhm.
those firms are all done hiring at that point. And so again, and
Just to stop you there, not only those banks, I believe any international banks which basically hires internationals are done recruiting by December. It's only like one or two spots that open up in the month of January or February in for which you can then recruit. But the problem for that is that already 10 or 15 candidates are recruiting for that who are from target school, who have better GPAs than you, who have better experiences than you. So, I mean, the probability of getting hired in those one or two single position is only like 0.5% or something.
yeah, yeah. So which is why we decided like, hey, it's probably better if we just delay graduation by a semester. That way you can kind of reclassify and recruit for summer 2023 instead, right?
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
so that makes sense, and a lot of our clients have used a similar strategy when needed if they are starting out too late, right? So that's the first thing that I want to call out. Is like if you're an international student and you've kind of already missed the recruiting window for firms that actually sponsor, then that is a potential that's a potential idea that you can implement, which is like delay
Right,
graduation. However, however, that is not without risks, right? Because if you delay graduation by a semester, you're now paying for an extra semester tuition, which is usually not cheap, and you have to make sure that you make the most out of that new opportunity. Like if you delay graduation and then you still don't approach recruiting the right way, or you don't go about your preparation process the right way, and you don't end up getting an offer, then you just delay graduation for no reason. It was kind of a waste of time and money, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So okay. So let's by the way, I thought it was funny that you said you brought up Mike Ross from Suits. I love that show, by the way, but I feel like most people who watch Suits, they want to become lawyers and not investment bankers.
No, I love Mike Ross from Suits when he joined Sidwell Investments Group, and I absolutely love Jonathan Sidwell, and more so, who did he work for? Wait, I forgot the name. Do you remember? Tony Giannopoulos. That was a real shark.
uh, yeah, no, because in that show, they totally make the corporate lawyers look like they're superior to the investment bankers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
In real
that show's
life,
way too dramatic if you want to become a corporate lawyer. But like investment banker, I would say it's still pretty much on the similar lines.
well, in real life, like because I've been a banker, when bankers work on deals, there's always lawyers involved, and then like
Mhm.
bankers always feel like they're superior to the lawyers. So it's just funny. Like everybody thinks like they're better, you know.
Right, 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 right.
But anyway, coming back to you though, so um, you joined Wall Street Mastermind halfway through junior year, but like
Mhm.
prior to that, you had already been recruiting on your own, right?
Yes, I had.
So when did you? I think you said what you started recruiting in. Did you say September?
That was after I joined the program, but like uh, before I joined the program, I started recruiting in the month of June or July.
Okay. And so, like, what were some of the things you were doing when you were kind of going about it on your own? And like, what were the resources you were using? And like, how was that recruiting process for you prior to joining us?
Okay, so the recruiting process prior to joining you was pretty different than post joining you, I would say. uh, two key things that I came to know. Like, I'm just gonna say what I did prior to joining you. There were no such particular resources that I used. I did everything on my own. I just used some of the campus resources that we had here in Michigan State. So we have an investment banking club which is called Financial Markets Institute here. So I was a part of it, and these guys who have been in investment banking and all, or like any high finance careers, private equity or SMT, they basically give you an idea. It's like a mentorship program where you have all these mentors who have done all these things. So just talk to them. They were my resource. I started reaching out. I started cold emailing. Uh, Talked to a couple of guys. Even received a couple of recommendations because I got the emails from the bank that I had received a recommendation from those people. But for some particular reason, I didn't end up getting any interviews. So I got one super day from Mizuho, and I think I did well in that interview in that super day. But then I didn't get through. Like I didn't get through. I was rejected.
Mhm.
So the
Got
preparation was on my own. The technical answers that I prepared for was just pure Google search, IB wine, and the usual that 400 banking guide questionnaire. So
got
yeah, that's about it. That was my resource.
got it. So primarily through the IB club on campus, and also just using all the standard typical resources that most people use, like 400 questions and
Right,
Google and
right,
YouTube.
absolutely correct.
Okay. Um, and so I remember back when we first talked, I think you told me like, I mean, because it wasn't for a lack of effort, right? I remember like you had done a ton of networking. You had reached out to like over 200 bankers, I think was what you told me at the time. And then
Mhm.
you got maybe like 30 responses. So you were like trying to talk to people. And like you said, Mizuho was your only interview, but you get the offer. And I think the tricky part probably was also like, I remember you telling me that you got to the Super Day, and I think you interviewed with four different managing directors, and then like two of them literally told you they'll see you in the summer or something in the office, right? Like,
Yes, yes, that they did, which was why I was super confident after the Super Day that yeah, dude, I got in, and I was like really happy about it because actually they did say, okay, we're gonna see you in New York next summer, even because they were pretty sure that their bank is gonna run even after COVID, which it didn't, by the way, but they were pretty sure that they're gonna get back to their offices and whatnot, so they were like, okay, we're gonna see you in the New York office very soon. They literally said that, and I think when I, I think what I did wrong was talking to the last executive director
yeah,
about cricket and like not agreeing with him on which is my favorite team, which is like his and my favorite. I think that is what went wrong because I don't remember giving any bad answers or anything.
yeah. I mean, I was actually going to point out, like, I think we see this all the time, and this is very common where a lot of students will come out of an interview feeling pretty good about it, and then
Hmm.
when the results come out, it doesn't align with their expectations, and they're
Hmm.
very confused as to like, wait, why didn't I get the offer, right? And
Right.
like usually when that happens, it can be very frustrating because you don't even know what you're supposed to fix, right? Like if you get another, I mean, that was your only interview opportunity that time, but like if you had gotten another interview, it's very likely that you could have gone in, and if you don't know what actually got you dinged the first time, like it's very possible that you might do the same things again, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think like with something, especially with like behavioral interviews, I think less so with the technical interviews. Like technical interviews, when you mess up, you know you messed up, right?
Right.
But
Right.
with
Right. Right.
behavioral interviews, like a lot of times the reason why it feels like it's going well is because even if the banker doesn't particularly like your answer, they're not going to tell you that it's wrong, right? They just usually nod and they keep going with the interview, and but like whatever they're jotting down for notes might not be like a positive thing, right? But you just don't know that, and so I think that's the tricky part with when people are only prepping on their own, is that a lot of times what you're doing is going to seem good to you. That's why you're doing
Right.
it. right?
Right.
But
Right. Right. Right.
what if it's not? And you don't want to wait until you go through the interview process to find the results and then realize like, oh, maybe what I'm doing right now is not working as well as I thought. Because at that point, like you might only have one interview opportunity, like you said, right? Like you don't want that to be like you don't want to be experimenting during that interview, right?
That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah. So I guess and then like in terms of the campus resources, I guess like obviously everybody should leverage as much campus resources as possible, like whatever clubs you have on campus, upperclassmen that have gone through the
Mm-hmm.
process. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're doing all the things you're supposed to do. But my guess is that being from a non-target school where most of the people that get into banking aren't really placing to the big banks, like the club on your campus in terms of the help they can provide is probably not the same as say like I don't know the IB club at Wharton or the IB club at like Columbia or one of
Oh, that's
these.
for sure. That's for sure. I think what really helps you in these kind of situations is the alumni network that your school has, I
Mhm.
believe. I mean, even with Wall Street Mastermind, what helped me, I would say, is the client network that you have, because then you are in the same family, you are part of the same group that you can reach out to. You can talk to these people; they're gonna help you just because you're from Wall Street Mastermind. And the same thing goes for any school, right? If you are from, let's say, Michigan State, if I'm from this FMI, the IB club that I'm talking about,
Yeah,
so these FMI people are really wanting to help you, but if their bank do not hire internationals, then there's nothing that they can do about it.
right, right. No, you bring up a good point there, which is you know, if you don't have that type of alumni network that you're a part of because you don't go to a target school, then Wall Street Mastermind is, in one way, kind of replaces that for you because
Hmm.
we have a very strong alumni network. We've placed people into every single bulge bracket and elite boutique bank out there, and
Absolutely.
those are people that are very willing to help you because it's almost like you're in the same little fraternity almost, right?
Hmm.
And
That's
so
correct. That's correct.
yeah, and so there's a network effect there for sure. So I guess the Mizuho thing didn't work out, and then was it right around that time that you decided to join Wall Street Mastermind then?
Yeah, it was like what 20 days before I got the rejection. Then I had okay, I'm not I had known Wall Street Mastermind before recruiting from Mizuho, but then I got the super day from Mizuho, and then it went really well, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't need this anymore.
Yeah,
uh but then when I got rejected, I was like, yeah, this is the first thing that I should do. I reached out to Daniel, and then asked him what the next steps are, and like what should I do.
yeah. So I guess I was gonna ask, like, what made you decide to join Wall Street Mastermind as opposed to just maybe continuing to do what you were already doing, but just do more of it? Because like a lot of people, sometimes we talk to them, not you obviously, but a lot of people, sometimes they come to us and they know that what they're doing is not working, and then
Mm-hmm.
after talking to us, they think about it, and then sometimes people come to the conclusion of, well, I just gotta try harder, which which to me translates into like, I just gotta keep doing what I've been doing, but I just gotta do more of it, right? Or like,
Mm-hmm.
I just gotta keep reading the 400 questions guide, but read it like more times, or memorize it better, or whatever. But like, you obviously decided to take a different route, and you decide to join Wall Street Management and get more help. But like, what what was your rationale for that decision? I guess.
So I mean, the key reason for joining Wall Street Mastermind, not doing what I was doing again, was I had no idea what I think you mentioned that I had no idea what went wrong in my interview, right? And I did try to talk to my mentors at the IB club from my school, but they didn't even understand what went wrong, because this is something that, I mean, that you cannot really guess, right? And there was no one who could tell me like what should be done now. So I was kind of losing my hopes to become an investment banker, but that was my dream from the last 5 or 6 years. I had to do it. Just had to crack it, even if I like don't end up doing it for like forever. Even if I just do an internship, get a full time, go back in the office for a year or 2 years and then choose any of the exit opportunity, even if I do just that, it is still my dream to crack that down, right? That is something that I have not achieved yet. So in order to achieve that, I think I thought that maybe I need some external help who is going to guide me through the process, who's going to help me where I went wrong and then clear my doubts real time, right? I know the group chat that we have is too good.
Yeah.
I mean, you have bankers from every possible field. Like you have people from every possible field, right? You have bankers, you have everybody in there. You have bankers from different banks who can literally help you as to like what the answers are expected from the recruiting perspective.
Yeah.
So, and these guys respond to you in real time. If you have a question, just post it on the group chat, and you get response within like what 30 minutes or like an hour at most.
Yeah.
So that is one of the one like and I read went through your website and I saw the benefits of Wall Street Mastermind and I really liked it. So it's like, yeah, I need to join this. I need to have some of the other kind of help. If I had been in an Ivy League school or like a target school, particularly if I had been in a target school, I probably wouldn't need this help. Probably, but I don't know that, right? I cannot say that for sure.
Right. So yeah, I mean, the group chat you're mentioning just how we have a Slack channel for all of our clients, and you can basically everyone's asking questions in there. But also when you ask questions, it's not just the coaches going in and responding. A lot of time, like there are people that are already working at these banks, and they're coming in and responding to your questions, and because there's hundreds of people in there, you get a very quick response anytime you have a question about something. Right.
Right. And that's really amazing. That's really amazing to have.
Yeah, most people don't have that. most,
Like
people, most people don't have somewhere they can go. It's just like, oh, I have a question. Let me just like drop it in here, and then like a bunch of bankers will like help them out or whatever, right?
oh yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I would say it's like a very condensed Wall Street Oasis where you get real-time responses and you know the person you're talking to.
right, yeah, no, exactly. Because on something like Wall Street Oasis, you don't know who's responding. It could be a banker, it could be some other student who's still trying to recruit just like yourself, right? And
Mhm.
it's hard to. I'm not saying there are no good posts on Wall Street Oasis. There certainly are, but you had to be able to like skip through a lot of bad stuff to get to the good stuff. Like
Right. I mean, even if you post a like, okay, so if you're thinking of posting a question on Wall Street Oasis, it should be like a good question because these guys are gonna bash you if it's a stupid question or whatever, and then you're gonna get demotivated.
yeah, people can be pretty mean on there for sure. I know from firsthand experience, so. uh, but anyway, I digress. So let's talk about after you joined the program. So you joined in December, right?
Mhm.
What did you do inside of the program, and like, how was it any different from what you were already doing on your own? Because that's the question that I think a lot of people always ask, like, oh, well, why do I need a program like this? Like, how is this different than just me studying all this stuff on my own? Like, you guys are teaching all the same stuff, right? So, like, how would you describe kind of like the things that you were doing, and what were the things that were most helpful to you?
I'd say there were two things that were the most helpful to me, and by the most, I literally mean the most. One was the way that the coaches at Wall Street Mastermind helped me through my behavioral answers. Because I think if I read my previous behavioral answers, of which I have a copy, they were shit. And I basically had a story, but it wasn't framed in a proper way. It wasn't framed in a good way. I was victimizing myself in those stories, and I was expecting that the banker or whoever the interviewer is gonna understand that I am the victim, and then he's just gonna give me sympathy, and then I mean that was I think what was going in my subconscious at the time, because I was taking myself on the like I don't know how to say this, but on the very lower side, and I didn't have any self confidence, which is something that you really need if you're a banker. That is a skill that you really need. You cannot keep victimizing yourself for any damn thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the behavioral answers was the one thing that made me stand out from the other applicants. Because even this time I started recruiting in the month of September, by which Green Tech's recruiting was already done. So they had only opened up recruiting like their positions only for two positions, and For those two positions, from what I had known from the inside contact that I had, there were 16 applicants who they were interviewing with.
Mm. So
So
they
it
were
was pretty difficult.
interviewing 16 candidates for 2 jobs.
Yes, yes, for two positions, 16 candidates.
Okay.
It was pretty difficult this time as well. But I think the behavioral answers was where I stood out, because technical is something that if you once, as you mentioned it, if you're good with it and if you don't mess that up, you know that you are okay. You're like, you did good with your technicals. But behavioral is something where you can stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point there that, I want to pause here and emphasize it a bit for our listeners, which is everybody out there is always so stressed out about the technical interview. Everyone always,
Hmm.
oh, I got to study the technicals. And people spend way more time in general studying their technicals than working on their stories for their behaviorals.
Hmm.
That's a mistake, right? Because you do need to know your technicals, don't get me wrong. But like, when you get to like the final 16 candidates that are going for these 2 jobs, for example, which is like not atypical for a super day, right? Like
Hmm.
usually they're gonna have a lot more candidates than the number of jobs available. Like, but when you get to that stage, most of the 16 candidates that are there, I would say they're gonna know their technicals, right? Like they're gonna know how to answer the same technical questions that you know how to answer, and like
Absolutely.
that is not that can be the thing that gets you eliminated if you don't know it.
Hmm.
That is not going to be the thing that gets you hired over the other people, because
Absolutely.
everyone already is, knows about the same level of technicals, right? But like
Technicals, right?
the thing that really sets you apart from other people is like if you have a better story, if you have
Hmm.
better answers for the behavior, because everyone's answers going to be different on that side of things, right? And
Hmm.
I think most people just like don't really know how to stand out, right? And also like most people, they have no idea like how other people are going to be answering those questions, and so they don't know whether their answers are better or worse than their competitions, right? Like
Right,
it's
right, right.
like how can you know that if all you're doing is studying your own answers, but like you don't know what other people are going to say, right?
That's absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct.
And so that's where like the coaches come in, because our coaches have edited so many answers and so many stories for hundreds of students. Like we can do that type of calibration for you. It's like, hey, your story right now is just okay, and it's not better than most of the other people out there. Then we know we need to improve it, right?
Right, 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 right.
And that just comes from experience. And the other thing you mentioned too is like, going back to what we said earlier, like the first time you had the super day with Mizuho, you felt like everything went great, right? And you felt like your behavioral answers were good, right?
Hmm.
And now in hindsight, the second time around, you look at your old behavioral answers and you feel like they're not that great anymore, right?
Yes, yes.
And so it's like that's typically how it goes with your behavioral answers, is like you're always going to think it's really, really good until
Hmm.
you don't. But the part where you realize it's not good is because like someone else has to point out the things that aren't great about your answers to you. If like no one points it out to you, it's really, really hard for you to like be able to identify that yourself, because that's going to be in your blind spot, right?
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So I think that's something that a lot of people don't really think about when it comes to like preparing their behaviorals. Is like they don't even realize that, oh yeah, like my answer, like, there might be something I'm missing in my blind spot. Like what am I missing? Right? Like people just don't think about that.
Hmm.
I guess that's the definition of a blind spot. So but coming back to you, so you said there were two things that were most helpful to you. One was the behaviorals, right? And then what was the other one?
So the other one was the Slack channel again. That was really helpful because I remember starting recruiting late. I used to throw out weird questions to you to the chat on the technical channel or on the behavioral channel, and I just throw it out, and a lot of my peers would answer it, or even at times I had answers from some bankers. I had answers from the coaches, so that really helped me.
Yeah.
Really, really helped me.
Yeah. And for that, it's just like, I guess the most helpful thing about a Slack channel is one, like we said earlier, it's very responsive, so you can get an answer very quickly because there's like hundreds of people in those channels. Two, you know who the source of the answer is, so there's more credibility. Like, if it's coming from a banker or a coach or whatever, like you don't have to worry about whether the advice is valid or not, right?
Right, 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 right.
And those are like the two most important things, because investment banking and recruiting happens so quickly, everything's so accelerated. Like, the last thing you want to be doing is every time you have a question about every stupid little thing, you gotta, what most people is like, oh, let me go on Google, let me type in whatever question I have, and then let me like open 10 different new tabs with all the search results, and then like let me read through each one of them and see if I can understand it. And then a lot of times, like after you read through everything, you're still confused and you don't understand. It's like you end up spending so much time spinning your wheels trying to understand this concept, and you can't move on to doing the next thing that you need to do.
That's
Right?
absolutely correct. That's what I did before Wall Street Mastermind. I used to Google it, used to reiterate my thoughts, and then you used to keep jargoning with the same words.
Yeah, and that versus if you could just like ask a question, get the response you need, and it's like, oh, okay, I get it now, and just move on to the next thing. It's like it's just so much more efficient. And one of
It's
the most,
fluid. The conversation is more fluid, I guess.
yeah, and also one of the most valuable things during recruiting is time, right? Like everybody's short on time. Everybody always feels like, oh my God, there's so much to do. I don't have enough time to do everything, right? Like I gotta keep up my grades in school. I gotta, do my part-time internship to build up my resume. I gotta network with bankers. I gotta study for interviews, behaviorals, technicals. I'm participating like clubs on campus. Like anyone that's going through banking recruiting, like you have your plate is full. Like you don't have time to like mess around and waste a bunch of time. Well, you can, but opportunity cost. It's like taking away from the time that you have to do all those other things you need to do, right?
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm.
That makes sense, man. And I guess like one thing that you mentioned earlier was like you didn't start recruiting until September. So,
Mm-hmm.
like you joined Wall Street National in December, but you didn't start recruiting until
September.
September. So talk about that a little bit. Like, why didn't you start recruiting until September? Because September is like pretty late, right? Like by September, most of the bulge bracket and elite boutique banks were done recruiting already, right?
Yes, they were. They were. And I was literally crying about it. But yeah, they were.
What made you kind of like wait that long, or like what was preventing you from recruiting earlier?
Okay, so preventing would be, I think, the better choice of word if I answered that question, because something that was preventing, well, it was COVID time, and I wasn't here back in the States. I was back to my hometown in India, and I had started my company in the month of October before joining Wall Street Mastermind. And in the month of January, that kicked off because I got great contracts, and I signed various deals in my own company that made me busy and like was taking time there. And that was, I think, the only reason that I couldn't do anything for banking or anything until September, when I came back to the States in the month of August. That was when I landed here, I think August 25th or 26th. And uh, as soon as my jet lag was over, I started recruiting.
Got it. So you were back home in India.
Hmm.
You say you were working on a business? Is that what you said?
Yes, yes. I started my own company and I was working on that. And the reason to do that was during COVID times, I had no idea if I was going to come back to the States or do something, because it was okay. So, credit wise, if I only end up doing finance, I would have graduated December of 21.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, let's drop the actuarial science thing. If COVID does not get better and if the classes are still online, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run this company. That was my second option that I was looking for. Option B. I'm gonna run this company. I'm gonna graduate December of 21 with the finance degree, and then just stay back here. Because even if everything is online, then it's pretty much no point going in there or doing anything at that point of time. That is what I was thinking.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, COVID. I mean, it's been a crazy year with COVID and everything, and really threw a wrench in a lot of people's plans for sure. But basically, so you were stuck in India. You were working on this business as a fallback plan, and
Mhm.
you weren't sure if you would be able to come back depending on when they were going to kind of like lift the restrictions and stuff for travel. And basically, after you finally came back, you got back on your horse and immediately started recruiting again. But at that point, a big chunk of the banks that actually would sponsor had already finished, like the bulge back end elite boutique banks. So you were basically just left with some of the middle market banks that would sponsor, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. There were only like six banks that I was left with, and that too all international bank. I'm pretty sure half uh half of the kids do not even know what those three or four banks were because I had no idea. I had heard their names first time. It was okay. So TD Securities, I had no idea it was an investment bank and they did good. CIBC, Santander, I had no idea they did. Scotia Bank, I had no idea that that was a bank. And then Numero Green Tech, obviously I'd heard of it.
Yeah.
So
Got it. So I
it
guess
was a do or die situation at the time. Like
yeah,
uh, I was sending out what 40 or 45 emails every day or 50 emails every day.
yeah.
And I used to send emails Monday to Friday, every day, even Fridays. I used to hone down the number of emails on Friday so that I had the number of people to send out emails to these small banks. Because there was a point of time after like 4 weeks, uh, there was nobody that I could send the email to because everyone in that bank was done that I could find on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
especially from small banks like Scotiabank and all these banks because their teams are really small, right? They have a very lean deal team. It's only like 12 or 15 people, and I've already sent out emails to everybody of them in
Right.
that particular group. So there was literally nobody left from that. So I started like going back. I remember a day when I sent out uh 50 fresh emails and 180 follow-up emails
Wow.
one single day.
Yeah. No, and that's at that point, it's like so late in the process. It's like you gotta go all out and leave no stones unturned, right? Ideally, honestly, like you wouldn't have waited until September, and then you would have had a lot more
Not
opportunity.
at all. Not at all. That is something that I would never recommend doing
Right,
because your probability gets down to zero, almost zero.
right, right. But given the circumstances, that I would actually say like getting an offer from Nomura Green Tech is a phenomenal outcome because like, Nomura middle market bank, but like their Green Tech group, at least like in the renewables energy space, like they're really, really good at that, right?
Right. I mean, I don't know. I want you to second this if I'm saying this right because I'm not sure about it. But from what I've heard, what I've read online, and when talking to people, Green Tech, I'm just going to talk about Green Tech, not Nomura. Uh, Green Tech is like the Goldman in renewables or ESG particularly. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I think I got a pretty good deal. So you tell me if that's correct or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard that before. I mean, they're definitely up there in their space like that. That's what I was about to say is like sometimes like honestly, a lot of times like the quality of the experience that you get is not even just about what bank you get offers from. It's more about
Hmm.
what group within that bank you get.
Oh yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely.
Like everybody wants to work for Goldman Sachs, but like working at Goldman TMT is not the same as working at like I don't know. I don't know what the worst group at Goldman is. I don't want to pick on anyone, but you know what I'm saying? It's like the
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely correct.
yeah, the good groups are going to have really, really strong deal flow, and that's what's going to affect your learning experience and affect your exit opportunities. The weak groups, they're usually not going to win a lot of deals, right? And so for
That's
Green,
absolutely correct.
competing against other banks that have groups that focus on renewables, but like if they just are like the top dog in that space, then it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter like
Right.
partner or whatever. It's just like financial technology partners. That's like another kind of like vertical specific bank, right? Where they only do fintech and
Hmm.
not a bulge bracket bank, and they're not an elite boutique bank either. They're founded by a former Goldman banker, but like they win deals in fintech all the time over the bulge bracket and elite boutique banks, right? And so it's like it's a very similar feel to me, which is like, or even before like SVB Leerink, like they're not, they used to be a smaller bank, but they were like really, really strong in healthcare, right? Nowadays,
Mhm.
they've been aggressively expanding and actually hiring a bunch of senior bankers from the big banks. But regardless, my point is, I think that's a great outcome because you go into a group that's the best at what they do, and that means that you're going to get a really, really good experience, which that's amazing, right? So that's a great outcome, man. I'm really happy for you, honestly.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
And I guess like with that, the last question that I have for you is, now that you've been through this process, is there like one piece of advice that you got along the way that, helped you a lot that maybe you want to pass on to other people? Maybe it's someone else who's just like you, who's an international student and goes to a non-target school, right? Like, what are some of the things that you feel like they really should know as they embark on this recruiting journey?
If you ask me if there's one thing that I'd like to say in terms of like giving advice, I just say one thing. It's a numbers game. I know everybody says this, but it is the numbers game. It completely depends on how many people you're reaching out to, how you're reaching out to these people, if you have a personalized thing on that email or not, uh, if you have the proper email that you should send out to them or not. But it is always the numbers game. If you reach out to 1,000 people, I'm pretty sure you are going to get 50 or 60 responses. If you get those 50 or 60 responses, I am 100% sure that you at least 10% of those, which is five or six people, are going to recommend you. And you only need, from those five or six people, you only need to connect with one.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You only need one offer at the end of the day, right?
Right, right.
But you have to
I mean,
work.
especially when you're in when someone is in a position that I was in, I was like, I need anything. I need anything in banking, I would work for it. That is what my rationale was at the time, right? Starting in September, I knew that I was super late. I knew that there was nothing open. So, well, it was just do or die, as I said before.
Yeah. And obviously, like, you use like the exact system and process that we taught you for networking, like just to give people a sense, like how many bankers did you end up reaching out to for summer 2023? Do you remember? You probably tracked that somewhere, right?
Uh, Honestly, at a point of time, I had stopped tracking because the number went too long. But I sent out emails to, I guess, in 1 month, I had sent out five, no, it was 629 or 645 emails. I don't remember exactly.
So over 600 emails.
Yes, over 600 emails for sure.
Yeah. So there you go, right? Like,
And in terms of how Wall Street Mastermind helped me, it was preparing that email. I mean, if your initial email, if first impressions last, that's true for even an email. And
yeah.
if that email is not correct, you're not going to get a response at all. These bankers are already busy, and if you send a crappy or shitty email to them, they're just going to read, like, probably spam through it, read through it, or whatever. They won't even open that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, when you say it's a numbers game, I don't want people to get the wrong idea of saying like, oh yeah, I just got to do more, right? Like, it's just like a
No,
brute
not at all. Not at
force this thing.
all. Numbers game with the quality work.
Yeah, numbers game as in like, you got to increase your conversion rate, right? Like,
No, yeah, true.
yeah, if you can increase your conversion rate, then you're still gonna have to reach out to a lot of people, but like your outreach will actually result in something versus if you have a bad approach and your conversion rate is very low, you can reach out to hundreds of people and barely get any responses, and that's just a huge waste of time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's great advice, man. So, look, guys, if you're still listening to this, maybe you're an international student, maybe you are going to a non-target school, like you have all these hurdles in front of you that you have to overcome. And as an international student, you need to be even better than the students who are not international students because you need to give firms a reason to go through the trouble of actually sponsoring you, right? And so, like, if you're looking for help with these things, no matter like how slim you think your chances might be, if you have the right help, like your chances are way higher than what you think they are right now, right? And like we said, like
Correct.
at the end of the day, you just need one offer. And so if that's something that you feel like you want help with, feel free to reach out to our team. You can do that by going to www.wallstreetmastermind.com/apply. The street's abbreviated to ST, so it's wall stmastermind.com/apply. And we'd be happy to hop on a call with you, learn more about your situation, understand what it is that you need help with, and we'll let you know based on what you tell us if we think we can help, or if not, like just at a minimum, give advice on what we would do if we were you, right? So, with that said, Advik, I want to thank you again for taking the time to talk to us. We're recording this on a Saturday morning, so taking time out of your weekend, and I'm really, really happy for you. Obviously, this has been a dream of yours for many years now, and so to see it come to fruition, I think there's no feeling better than that. And excited to see what you accomplish this upcoming summer at Green Tech, but also beyond that, once you become a banker full time. And so, whatever else you might need help with going forward, like don't be a stranger, man. You're always part of the family.
Obviously, man. Obviously. I'm always in that Slack group. I'm never gonna leave that Slack.
Yeah, man. So I'm sure I'll see you around, whether it's on Slack or, I'm sure we'll be talking more in the future. But thanks.
Definitely. One last thing that I would just like to say, I don't know if you're recording or not, even if you are, but thank you so very much, Sam, for helping me out throughout the process. And I would also like to thank the coaches who are in my channel. I'd send them a message soon, but I'd really like to thank all of you for preparing my behaviorals, because I think that was the only thing that made me stand out from the other candidates. So
Yeah,
thank
man.
you so very much.
Hey, no, this is why we do what we do. We love it. We love getting messages like that from our clients. It's very fulfilling for us and very rewarding for us too. So yeah, thank you for giving us the opportunity to help you with that and to be able to share in a small part of your success. Obviously, you had to do most of the work, but we feel blessed that we're able to be a part of it. So
Absolutely. All right, man.
yeah, man. So, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up here, and we'll be back with more of these interviews for you guys in the near future. But until then, we'll talk to you next time. All right.
And join Wall Street Mastermind.
Thanks for the plug. All right, guys. See you later.